guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Beth. I am a 36-year-old attorney living in the DC area with my husband, and I like to film a variety of makeup related content on my channel. So swatches, reviews, unboxings, all that good stuff. So for today's video, I'm very excited to share with you a new product, at least to the States, from Aldi. So Aldi, as you may know, is a grocery store, and they usually have an aisle of their store that's dedicated to finds, I guess they call them. So usually these are products that are kind of limited in their availability. And for this week, they had some makeup products that have a remarkable resemblance to some products from some mainstream brands that you may be familiar with, and specifically the Naked palette from Urban Decay. So Lacura, I guess, is the brand, the in-house brand from Aldi that makes these products. So they had 4 different palettes available. Obviously this is the Naked 2 dupe. This is the Naturals 2 eyeshadow palette. So this is what I'm going to be swatching today, but if this video does well, I do plan to film a similar video with the Smoky palette, and I also have that one currently. And then I picked up 2 others. This is the Naturals Nectar palette, and I did order the Honey palette from Urban Decay from Sephora because it is currently half off, I guess for the President's Day weekend, but I don't currently have it yet. But I do have this one as well, and then I do also have what they call the Intense palette, which I think is a dupe for the Urban Decay Heat. So that one I ordered from Urban Decay, again, because it was half off. So I don't currently have it, but again, if this video does well, I will certainly do swatch and comparison videos for these palettes. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like it and share it. They also released a few different mascaras, and I did end up purchasing all 4. Just get these out of the way for a minute. So they have they're Brilliant, and they had both a normal and a waterproof of that. And just by the tube, you can maybe get a sense for what very popular mascara from Too Faced that they are trying to replicate there. And then also they have the Rise Above mascara. And again, I have both the waterproof and the normal. And this one looks very similar to the Benefit They're Real. Benefit doesn't actually have a waterproof They're Real, which I guess is a good thing because personally I find They're Real difficult enough to remove without it being waterproof. So I'll just quickly show you what these look like. And these mascaras, I believe, are $3.99. So that is what the tube for the Rise Above mascara looks like. Very similar to the Benefit. I'm not going to open it just because I think I will do a comparison between the Aldi mascara and their high-end counterpart. But you can see what the wand looks like on the package there. And I'll just quickly show you. These are taped shut, which is always good when you are kind of buying something from a store in person and you don't know if someone else kind of already got their hands in them. I did actually open all of the Aldi palettes in store just to make sure that they weren't broken. But when someone swatches a palette, it's a little bit more obvious than when they open a mascara. So yeah, again, let me know if you would be interested in a side-by-side comparison of these. I'll try to do like a wear test and all that. But returning to the palettes, so these Aldi palettes retail for $5.99. The Naked palettes are about $50. They seem to vary a little bit. I think this Naked 2 and the Naked Smoky are both discontinued, so you may be able to find them out there somewhere, but I don't think they're on the Urban Decay website or Sephora or anything. So if you missed out on this color story, then this might be worth looking into if you can find it. The Heat and the Honey are still available, so I will, again, compare those once I have them. I did purchase all of these palettes from Aldi on Thursday, and I think their like weekly ad and their fines reset every Wednesday. I just stopped off at Aldi earlier today, it's Sunday, and I think these palettes were all gone. So if you are interested in picking up these Aldi palettes, maybe check sooner rather than later, but I think a lot of products from this brand have been available in the UK. I think, like I said, you can order them on the Aldi UK website and have them shipped to you if you live in the UK. So I'm guessing if they're starting to phase these products into the US market, they might become more permanent. And I think they also have some other makeup products that they've released in the UK, like dupes of some NARS blushes, the Benefit bronzer and highlighter, all sorts of different things. So anyway, just to kind of give you some information about how you might be able to get your hands on this. So I don't think I have the box for this Urban Decay palette any longer. So I'll try to do my best to compare the information that I have and the packaging and that kind of thing. Normally when I do swatch videos, I do finger and brush swatches over a primed arm, but really this is more of a comparison than a, I guess, test of the product. So I'm just going to mostly do finger swatches on an unprimed arm. And then at the end, I think I'll try to create the same look on both eyes using the Aldi palette on one eye and the Urban Decay palette on the other. And there will be timestamps down below if you just want to skip ahead to that portion of the video. Okay, so this is, like I said, the Lacura Naturals 2 eyeshadow palette. Has a net weight of about 12 grams of product. And you can see on the back here, it says distributed and sold exclusively by Aldi, made in China, has a 12-month shelf life, and it says this universally flattering palette features 12 alluring neutrals that work for virtually every skin tone. A variety of textures, including shimmer, matte, and satin, allow you to achieve a wonderful variety of makeup looks that will take you from day to night. And the texture and characteristics, it says smooth finish and lightweight texture. Formula is easy to blend and feels natural on the skin. Shade range is perfect for all occasions. And the directions, it says apply onto lids and build up a base before seamlessly blending shadows together using the applicator brush. Use darker shades on the crease and lighter hues on the inner corners to accentuate the eyes. Build an extra layer for an amplified and pigmented look. And these do have talc in them. It says if irritation occurs, please discontinue use. Store in a cool, dry place. And it does have petrolatum. I'm trying to see if they do have carmine. Okay, it's not leaping out at me if they do. Just quickly looking at the Heat palette or the Heat dupe, which I think if any of them do contain carmine, this one would be likely to. It says Red 40 Lake. Again, it's not leaping out at me, but you know, if that's a concern to you, just make sure to check the ingredients. Okay, so let's take a look at what we have inside here. I did manage to rip the box a little bit, being a little bit too aggressive. It does have a very kind of satisfying texture to the box, and it has that kind of foil look to it, which is, I don't know, kind of a simple thing, but okay, so this is what the actual palette looks like. So I do actually like this like pale blue, I guess it's either plastic or it could be a metal, I'm not sure. And then that too is a gold color. I don't know if they ever came out with a original Naked palette dupe or if they just went straight to the second one. Obviously very similar dimensions here. And this one on the back, by the way, from Urban Decay, This was 12 by 1.3 grams, so you get a little bit more product in this one. This one was made in the USA and assembled in the Dominican Republic. I think the brush was made in China. And I did notice there was a slight difference in, I guess, the finger groove on the Aldi palette. So, not a huge difference, but in case you were wondering if it was like the same mold or anything like that. Okay, so when you open the Aldi palette, it has this kind of closure. It did have a little plastic over the shadows. And I think one area where this really does show its kind of price point is it's not a great mirror. I've been trying to figure out if there's any kind of film on it, but I haven't been able to. Maybe there is. So I'm okay, there we go. Ah, okay. Yeah, I thought this film was actually part of the mirror, but it does remove. So that is definitely a usable mirror. You can see that was the mirror cover. It does have a brush, as you can see. It's going to be a little difficult working around these mirrors. Okay, so those are the shades in the Aldi palette, and you do get a double-ended brush with more of a kind of shader brush on one side. I'm sure this is synthetic just from the feeling of it. I don't think this will be the best brush you use, but it is what it is. And then this is more of a blending brush. It does have this hair kind of sticking up, but that's easy enough to trim off, I guess. Okay, so that is the Aldi brush, and one thing I like about the Urban Decay palettes is that even if you don't like this brush, it does allow you to maybe stick in like an eyeliner. That one is from Pixie, so that way you kind of have everything all together. That was how they were originally sold, was with a dual-ended eyeliner and not a brush. So taking a look at the Naked palette, as you can see, I didn't get a lot of use out of this brush. And I will say, I don't know if it's just because I've used it more, but this container does seem to kind of stay open a little bit more. This one is still a little bit stiff, I guess. Okay, so just, I guess, comparing the brushes to begin with. Take this out of its plastic. So again, you get the same type of functionality. This also feels synthetic. I don't know that, oops, the Aldi brush is significantly less in quality. I mean, I think there is a slight difference in the brush itself. You can see the blender side on the Urban Decay is longer. I mean, the bristles don't feel inferior on the Aldi side. The Urban Decay also feels kind of pretty synthetic. I think the technology for synthetic bristles has kind of come a long way since this Naked 2 palette was first released, which I'll try to insert when that was. I don't recall offhand. Okay, so looking at the shades themselves. So I think there are some differences in terms of the tones of some of these shades, but a couple things I did want to point out off the bat. I think unlike the Alter Ego palettes, which are inspired by like Pat McGrath or Natasha Denona or I think Huda Beauty, at least recently, Alter Ego started to kind of mix up the composition of the palettes, so you had to hunt a little bit more to find what the corresponding shade was. But for this one, I think you can tell there's a fairly obvious correlation there between both of them. But there are, I think, two major differences I noticed off the bat, and that was the half-baked shadow in the Urban Decay palette. That is a shimmer, but in the Aldi palette it is a matte, at least it appears to be. And then the other shade it seems that they replaced with a matte is the shade Verve. So that looks like it is a shimmer or metallic in the original, and it is now a matte. So you may actually prefer having more mattes than there were in the original, but I just wanted to point out that difference. But otherwise, I think the color story is pretty similar. I don't think each shadow, at least looking at it in the pan, is a dead-on dupe, but very similar. Okay, so this is going to be an interesting challenge. Maybe I'll just... Okay, maybe that's the best way to place them. So I guess I'll do these in like 4 shade sections. So I'll do like 3 different rows of swatches basically. So starting off with the first shade here, in the Urban Decay palette, it's called Foxy, and that is a light like cream matte. In the Aldi palette, it is called Vanilla. So that is Urban Decay and that is Aldi. And just swatch here. So I did already swatch some of the shades in the Intense or the Naked Heat dupe when I got them, just because I really just wanted to get a sense for how the shadows felt. That is Half Baked and this is Sand. And to be honest, the Aldi shades feel a lot better than I expected them to. I was expecting them to feel kind of chalky, but I think they feel surprisingly nice for the price point. So obviously there's a huge difference there in color and in texture. Going to the third shade, which is Booty Call, which is like a vanilla satin, and then Orchid. So those seem a lot more similar. I'd say the Aldi one is a little bit more yellow, a little less pink maybe. And then the next shade here is called Chopper, and this one is Coin. So pretty similar. I mean, maybe the Urban Decay has a little bit more pink in it. It's a little chunky, this one. I'd say out of these 4, the third shade is probably the closest. And then maybe the first matte. Go ahead and zoom in for you. Okay, so this is Urban Decay Foxy, Aldi Vanilla, Urban Decay Half Baked, Aldi Sand, Urban Decay Booty Call, Aldi Orchid, and then finally Urban Decay Chopper and Aldi Coin. Okay, so next up we have Tease from Urban Decay and Lilac from Aldi. The Aldi pans seem to be a little bit lower, or like the pan just doesn't come up to the top, so I guess it's a little bit more of a challenge to get my finger in there. Those I think are pretty similar. Aldi might just be a tad lighter. Next up we have Snakebite and Mocha. Again, pretty similar. And I probably purchased this Urban Decay palette when it first launched. So it is not a new palette. Like I said, I think this one has been discontinued, so you know, I couldn't even swatch a new palette if I wanted to. This is Urban Decay Suspect and Aldi Willow. I think Urban Decay has a little bit more of a gold tone to it. But I just wanted to kind of provide that caveat, just in case. Okay, the next shade is Pistol from Urban Decay and Khaki from Aldi. So the Urban Decay formula is definitely kind of chunkier. And for this shade, I'd say Pistol is a lot kind of more of a blue-gray metallic. Khaki is a little bit more kind of olive-toned, which would make sense. Okay, and then I guess that's all four. So let's go ahead and take a close look at these ones. So we have Tease from Urban Decay and Lilac from Aldi, Snakebite from Urban Decay and Mocha from Aldi, and then Suspect from Urban Decay and Willow from Aldi, and Pistol from Urban Decay and Khaki from Aldi. So I think the first one is definitely the most similar, followed by the second one. This is the least similar. I think there's a bigger difference in tone there, and there is also, I think, a difference in tone with these last shadows. I think the Aldi shadows are pretty. It's just a matter of how close they came to actually duping the original. Okay. So last four here to swatch. This one is obviously a different texture. So we have Verve from Urban Decay and Pistol from Aldi. Next up we have YDK from Urban Decay and Champagne from Aldi. I'd say the Urban Decay seems to have a little bit more kind of impact. A little bit more pink too. I think the Aldi maybe has a bit more of a coppery base. And then we have Busted and Shadow. I think those are pretty similar. The Aldi one is maybe not quite as pigmented or dark. And then this one is Blackout versus Charcoal. The Charcoal actually feels creamier to me. And it actually swatches, I think, as dark as Blackout. I was thinking, based on what it looked like in the pan, that would be a little bit more gray. But I think that's actually pretty similar. We have Verve from Urban Decay versus Pistol from Aldi, obviously totally different. YDK from Urban Decay versus Champagne from Aldi. And then this one is Busted from Urban Decay versus Shadow from Aldi. And finally, Blackout from Urban Decay versus Charcoal, I think it was, from Aldi, which is actually, I think, the most similar maybe followed by this pairing, and then this one from this row. Okay, so I think before I do a side-by-side comparison on my eyes, I think I will just swatch the Urban Decay palette all in a row, and then the Aldi palette all in a row, and then I'll edit it so that you can see them side by side.
Something about the way you move makes me wanna feel your groove. Something about the way you dress, baby, got me feeling like a mess, baby. You should still have fun, though we say we don't, 'cause I just wanna get down with you. For the last time, I can call you mine. Once more than I swear we're through. You can tell me when we're naked. We don't have time, so let's not waste it. Haven't kissed your lips for days, don't remember how they taste. You can tell me when we're naked. You can tell me when we're naked. We don't have time, so let's not waste it. Haven't kissed your lips for days, don't remember how they taste. You can tell me when we're naked. Naked.
So my initial thoughts based on swatching these, obviously, like I said, there are a couple shades that are very obviously different. I'd say the Urban Decay formula seems to be a little bit like thicker than the Aldi formula, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just a different type of texture. You may actually prefer a thinner formula, but I think generally you would be hard pressed to find a palette with this many shadows at this quality for $6 anywhere else. I think even the like cookies and cream palette from e.l.f., which I don't have, but I think it's like $8 or $10 for 8 shades, and here you're getting 12. So if we're thinking of this in terms of like drugstore pricing, and you get a brush, I think this is really a steal. But of course we will see how it performs on the eyelids. Okay, so I don't have any base makeup applied, obviously. And I will, I think, start off by using the Urban Decay Primer Potion, the original formula, on both eyes. Seems appropriate. This is just a little sample that I have. So as far as I know, Aldi hasn't duped the Urban Decay Primer Potion, but even if they have, I don't have it. So I'm just going to use the same primer on both eyes. Okay, so I think to make this interesting, I would use the brush included in the palette, but I think I will apply the shadows to both eyes in the same order, so you'll see it kind of come together in real time. So because the brushes are slightly different, I don't want to give it away till the end which palette is on which eye. If you would prefer to see me use the brushes in the palette in future videos, let me know. But for this one, I am going to use different copies of the same brush, essentially. So I have the Referent number 2, which is a natural hair shader, and then I have the Referent number 21. So the same brush, but I'll keep a pair for each palette. And of course I do have the Sigma switch, so if I need to kind of wipe off any shadow as we go, I will do that. Okay, so to start off with, what I like to do is to take a cream shadow and apply it all over the lid to kind of act as a base. So again, using the same shade. I'm not planning to use the shadows that were obviously different in texture, just because, you know, my goal is to see whether I can create a similar look with each. So I don't have, I don't think, the same blender. But I do kind of have two versions of the same brush. So I have the rougher number 1 brush, which is very similar to the MAC 217. This is the old MAC 217, which was a natural hair brush. So this was made in Japan, so it's kind of before they switched over. So I'll use these, you know, in lieu of having the exact same brush. So going into a crease shade. It's been a while since I used a like MAC 217 type brush. It's like old school YouTube here. I feel almost like I'm playing some kind of like video game and I'm setting the difficulty setting to advanced because I'm using 2 different shadows, 2 different brushes and trying to, I guess, achieve the same result. This eye just got super smoky in a hurry. You know, I think we talk about pigment and shadows a lot of times, but sometimes there's something to be said for less pigment because it does make it a little bit easier. And these are all dry brushes for the moment anyway. Okay, so to wet the brush, what I like to use is the Tarte Maracuja Miracle Mist, and there are a couple ways that you can do this. You can wet the brush and then go into your shadow, or you can try to pick up shadow on your brush and then wet it. I don't really recall how popular this palette was when it first came out. I think the first Naked palette was so popular. I'm assuming this did well because they kind of continued the Naked line. But it's always interesting kind of looking at trends in color. So I'd say this one is a little bit more metallic, a little bit more reflective. I think now we are starting to kind of go back towards the cooler end of the spectrum, at least a little bit. We were stuck in a real kind of warm place for a while. All right, so this one, I think the fallout is worse on this side. Good thing about using fingers is that I only need to clean it off. I don't need to grab a different brush. So I think, let's see here. I'm going to tap another shade, just trying to make sure I grab the right one out of each. Maybe slightly more frosty of a brow bone than I would typically go for. Okay, so to try and even up the depth a little bit, I think I am going to go in with a black on this side And taking a different brush here. This is a lot smokier than I would typically go. Okay, so just based on the eyeshadow alone, let me know which one you guys like better. Which one you think is the Urban Decay and which one you think is the Aldi. So this is my right side and this is my left side. So if you want to guess in the comments down below, this is right, this is left, right, left. So this is the Aldi side and this is the Urban Decay side. So, you know, there are obviously some differences, I think, in pigment and like texture. I think I do prefer the Urban Decay side. You can, if you recall, that first kind of deeper color that went on was a bit intense. I'm just taking the Sodia G Jumbo Blender. So I think it was a little bit difficult to kind of build up the same texture and depth on the Aldi side, but I think you can still create a very pretty look with this palette. And like I said, this is $6, so it certainly beats $50. And you can't even purchase the Urban Decay anymore. So if you missed out on that altogether, I think you can create a very similar look with both palettes. Maybe not like completely identical in texture or quality, but you might prefer less pigment. And I think if I had not gone in with the black on this side, you know, I think you would have ended up with something a lot more subtle. I was just trying to kind of match the intensity on the Urban Decay side. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of this palette. If you don't like the idea of Aldi duping Urban Decay at all, I certainly understand that feeling. But you know, especially for a discontinued palette, making it available at a lower price point, I think is a good thing. And yeah, I think if you do see this in store, and if you missed out on the Urban Decay palette, or you're just curious to see what Aldi put out, I think it is, I think it's worth picking up. So that's gonna do it for this video. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.